And again, on this particular console, this is basically what it looks like. It's that one piece there, this cup holder here, got this screw here. This cup holder basically kind of joins this front half from that second half back there. And then these little things go over the cup holders in the back to cover up the T27 Torx screws. So just a quick look at the console while it's out, so you can get a good look at it there. So again, that's what we got going on here. So okay, I just kind of wanted to get a shot here of this. Pardon the camera shake here, but another thing you do, another step you do is we're back here looking into the glove box area, and we just got done taking the instrument cluster out. We still got to lower the steering column, but I did want to come over here to this step here. You need to take this vent here for your heating and air conditioning off of this thing here. You need to pull that loose, and then there's an airbag, this yellow plug right here. Now if you pull on this plug, the whole thing, there's like a metal clip that the whole thing is on. There's a tab that you push on here to undo this thing, but it's hard to do while it's on this metal thing. So if you just kind of pull the whole plug just kind of comes off like that. You can kind of see, it's hard to see, there's like a metal clip right there. And this thing, backside of it, basically goes up into there and slides into there like that. So when you pull that off of there and you flip this around, then you can see the little tab right here that you push to unhook it. But until you get it off of there, sometimes it's kind of hard to see it. So I want to try and get it back in here, and then you should just be able to push Yeah, see, I can't get to it when it's on that thing for some reason. So, but you want to push this little thing right here by kind of push and pull out at the same time like that. Then you can take this thing here and put it back up on that little clip there. So anyways, hopefully I was able to do that without too much shake. But again, this thing, it just goes up here, and this is the little part here that you need to push in. You can see that. And then up there. So anyway, so again, a couple more steps here. Pull this hose off, remove this airbag connector here, and then we're going to get back over there, I think, to lowering the steering column and seeing if there's any other little details we need to pull out of here, or I'll have to get unhooked from the dash under there. So with that, stick with me. Okay, so next we are going to remove these steering column bolts here, and there's basically 4 of them. Pardon the camera here. There's one that's right there that's coming down, and then there's another one there that's facing that way. So you undo that one there, and then there's that one there, and then one on the opposite side, and then there's one right up there, and then there's one opposite the other side. Either loosen them or remove them, I'm not sure which yet, and then it's gonna, hopefully it should drop down, you know, enough to kind of pull. Again, it's not gonna drop down a lot, but it'll drop down enough. You might want to put some kind of a blanket or a pile of something here to help kind of, again, I'm not sure how far down it's going to come. I'm not sure how far in contact with the rest of the plastic bezel and stuff on the dash that it's going to do. So we're just going to kind of play that by ear. So again, we're going to remove those 4 column bolts underneath there, and then after that we're going to remove these top screws up here on top of the dash, and then we're going to remove these 4 here, and then we're going to give it a little pull and see where we're at. So I'm going to put the camera back over here. Okay. All right. I'm going to grab my wrench real quick. I think it's a 13 mil, but we're going to check. Hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad, but it shouldn't matter, I guess. Okay. Yep, 13 millimeters. So what you're going to want is a 13 millimeter socket, short or deep. It looks like, well, you're probably going to want a, yeah, you're going to want a deep socket. You're going to want a 13 millimeter deep socket and an extension and a 1/2 inch wrench. Probably don't need this long of an extension on there, but whatever works. Okay, just going to loosen that to where we can pretty much get it by hand if we need to. Again, these bolts are on there tight. You know, you don't want to put them on there super tight, but that's one nice thing about using the appropriate sized wrench is you know, you don't over lever it or under lever it if you're not using too big or too small a handle sometimes. All right, let's get these two here. We should start seeing some movement here after we get this. These, by the way, were the wires for the aftermarket fog light, so if you don't see that wiring harness on yours, that's because it didn't come with it. So let's see what we got here. Okay, these studs are solid, so it should be okay just to, I'm going to go ahead and just loosen this nut all the way off and then just put it back on a couple turns. Then we're going to start loosening this one here and see what happens. Make sure your wiring's up out of the way. Again, another reason to have the battery disconnected is all these wires. Okay, this thing should start. Yeah, it's starting to lower there. Okay, I've only got a couple of turns left on this one here, so I'm gonna get in here and sit down here and take this one off over here and then lift this up a little bit and take this one off over here and just kind of see how much we're dropping and what's going on here. Okay, apparently that's what it just kind of does. It just kind of slides. Okay, well that appears to be the way it works. So, just to come over here and get a little better angle of what's going on here. Excuse me, Pinko. And you think I'm kind of, you know, funning around with this duct stuff, and I am a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, eventually I'm going to show you what I've really been having to deal with this thing and all these ducts. So, anyways. It's been a ducking good time, that's for sure. Alright, we're going to bring this around here. Okay. Again, I apologize for some of the redundancy here, but if you've got a nice Jeep and you're trying to put it back together nice, you know, which you probably are. I mean, if you've got just a mudding or a rock crawler or something, you're probably not overly worried about, you know, this. But, okay, so basically what we got here is we got these two studs here. There's those two in the back that I just loosened those. The ones that are facing this way. But these top two, I took the nuts off these studs. And this thing basically just, when you get ready to put it back up on there, you're just kind of gonna try and not want to do it with one hand. But you just basically push this thing up. You're gonna have to push on the steering wheel a little bit. You're just gonna push up on that, and it's basically gonna just go in there. Let's see if I can set the camera here and get it to work. Okay, well there, see, you went for a tumble, but it went on there, so now you know what I'm talking about. My bad. Sorry about that. But that's what's going on there as far as the steering column coming down. And then at that point, it looks like your clearance is pretty good over here. You know, it's just starting to rest on this piece of plastic right here, this metal part here. So probably what I would do would be maybe take like this roll of tape or a couple of beach towels or something and just kind of lift this up a little bit, so that gives you that little bit of clearance there. Because if you have this thing resting on that, when you try to pull this dash back, it's going to catch on there and cause some problems, I'm thinking. So you probably kind of want this up like this for some clearance there. Again, you know, if you're trying to take your time and do it right. Again, here's a good shot of those two studs there. And they just kind of go in those bushings there, and you just kind of push forward on the wheel while you're pushing up, and they pop back in there, and then you put the nuts back on the other side. While I'm standing here, I'm going to take these nuts here that I took off of there, and I'm just going to go ahead and thread them back on here, right here, so I know where they're at. Okay. And again, the other nuts are still on there. I just loosened those a few turns and it dropped down. And I'm having a heck of a time getting this on here with one holding this camera the way I'm holding it. Okay. Again, sorry for all this blurry camera shaking BS here. So, alright, that's what we got going on here. So again, let the column come down, but you're probably going to want to put something on the seat so you can kind of keep it, you know, keep everything in there real happy. So, alright, back around to the other side. Okay, so where are we here? Okay, I guess now that we've got that lowered down, I'm going to grab something real quick here. I got this cardboard box here. I'm going to just lift this steering wheel up here and kind of put that underneath there. Ah, that worked really well, didn't it? Fold it over a couple of times. Now it's still a little bit low in there. There, that works pretty good there. That's about right. Again, we may have to take this out, but that looks like it's enough to kind of want to pull the dash back, and you know, that kind of looks like it's about where you'd want it. So, all right, we've got, looks to be 1, 2, 3. These two are for the bezel here. So 1, 2, 3, and then there's probably 3 on the other side. So go ahead and grab my 1/4 inch here. These are Phillips heads or 1/4 inch. I believe they're 1/4 inch. Yeah, 1/4 inch or Phillips head. Don't do that. As a matter of fact, that reminds me. They make these really nice plastic, and they make them in all different sizes, kind of plastic with a rubberized handle ratchets for when you're doing, you know, more delicate work or working on the inside of a car and you might smack something like that. So definitely a good idea to pick one of these up. Every little bit helps, you know, especially when you got an older vehicle, you know, and you're trying to fix it and not wreck it, you know. And if you've got a Jeep that's kind of nice, like I said, if you got a rock crawler or just a cage, you're probably not going to be worrying about putting in a new heater core and an air conditioner. So, like I said, after this, I believe these screws on the side here are T27, but we'll have to check. Okay. Pardon the wind there. Yeah, great little ratchet. This is just an El Cheapo one, but that's all you need for this really light duty stuff. You know, you're not putting a lot of torque on it or reefing down on it really hard. So make sure my camera's still running here. Never know with this thing. Okay. That one's in there. Now there's 3 in here, and I'm not sure if these need to come out or if these are just to take the, oh yeah, okay, this one's going to need to come out. I'm guessing these 3 here need to come out too. I was thinking maybe those are just for the airbag there, but. So 3 over there, 3 here, and then another 3 here, so 6 on this side. So this thing, about 1.5 years ago, started acting like it was leaking a little bit of coolant. And so we took it in and had the heater core redone. And after that, it had a funny smell. It just did not smell right. Like, I know that kind of stuff. I've been around a while in car. It did not smell right, and it took weeks for it to go away, and it just kind of had a weird chemically smell to it, almost like it was leaking Freon or something. So I went and got a cheapy Freon leak detector. And that thing didn't tell me anything. Granted, it was a cheap one, but you know. So, time went on. And then this next year, the air conditioner quit working. I think that was just the clutch. I don't necessarily know that was related, but. Anyway, so this thing's been into before, so I don't really know. They didn't comment on the shape of the evaporator core or anything like that, which would have been nice. I mean, anytime you have spent that kind of money, you'd think they'd say, hey, everything looked okay. They just, anyways. So I was not entirely happy or satisfied really with the work that had been done to it before, which is why when the air conditioner went out and with the mileage and the age of it, I'm just like, let's just replace all of it, because if you're going to have to get in there, you might as well just get it all and replace it and see what's going on with it. So I think that's it. Oh wait, let's see, these screws here. Now these screws here again are just for this plastic bezel, and they don't go into the metal trim up here. So I think I don't think you have to take these off. You might. I think you just got to remove these next. So we're going to go grab a T27. I believe that's what it is, and we're going to loosen these and see if we get any motion. Start over here. That's, yes, definitely a T27 for these 3 on each side of the dash here. Not a bad idea to have them in ratchet form either, because these things are kind of in there. I think I've got some Torx bits that will be a little quicker. What's going on with this situation here? That's too big. That's too big. All right, there we go. These Torx bits are a 1/2 inch drive, so I had to get a 1/2 inch wrench to put on there. So and then on the other side under the hood, we still have to pull those heater hoses off of there. And then there's, I think, 4 or 5 nuts on the other side we have to undo so that the box will come off, the heater core box will come off. But that, we got to pull the dash back first. So okay, I need to get an extension for this to speed it up a little bit here. Having an extension sometimes allows you to be able to take that and get whatever it is the rest of the way out instead of having to use the wrench, but yet just, grabbing hold of the socket isn't enough. So this is longer, it gives you good grasp, and it's got this knurled spot in the center here. So still could use the wrench on here. This is some boring stuff here. Definitely not a bad idea to have an electric ratchet with something like this. See if I can get it out of there by hand faster. These things are stiff. They don't start really loosening up until they're most of the way out. Put a bigger extension on there. again, another reason to have nice clean floor mats. I don't know why they bury the heater cores and the evaporator cores in some of these vehicles like they do. They've always done that. It's just gotten worse as the vehicles have gotten newer and the trim's gotten more plastic and the, you know, more stuff. But there's no reason for them to do it like that. All right. Let's come over here and see what we got here. Yeah, they make these big ones with the and the soft handle too. I think I got one in there. Should be using it. Sometimes you got to pay attention. You'll flip the little thing on the ratchet and you'll start tightening it instead of loosening it. Okay. Again, I'm not sure if you got to take these things and these speakers off. I think these things are all bolted to the same thing, but maybe not. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Oh yeah, definitely nice to have an electric ratchet. I've got one, that's what I should be using. Of course it's a 3/8 and this is a 1/2 inch, so I'd have to go get an adapter, and then sometimes that's why I end up doing it by hand. Of course I kind of grew up doing this stuff like late at night in the garage or out in the parking lot or whatever, you know, wherever I was at, so can't really crank up the air compressor and the air tools and stuff at, you know, 1 in the morning when you live someplace like that, so get used to doing it the old school way. Alright, just about done with this one here. Okay, that was really not that fun, but whatever. Okay, so I don't know what else to do except that this thing here might need to be come on this dash part here. Might need to be. See, I'm not sure how much of this is, because there's some frame. This has a little bit of a frame in here too, so I'm not sure how much of what is what here. Okay, it definitely feels like there's some more stuff in here that I need to. There's a couple of. Okay, yeah, there's a couple of bolts, big bolts right there that got to come out of here too. So let me go. I think they look like a 13 mil. Let me grab the 13 mil. This side over here is probably some more over here too. Well, let's see here. Just some stuff on this top edge here. It's getting there. All right, I'm gonna go regroup and okay, so while I do believe we have to loosen these two nuts under here, which I did, there are, I believe, 4 more on this top edge here. There's one here, and then 2 on the other side there. So those are I had the wrench in my hand a second ago. Hold on. Okay. I believe it was an 11 millimeter. And I set it someplace. Oh, here's the socket here. Alright. 11 millimeter. Okay. These are not the easiest to get to. Definitely want to grab an extension. I'm going to get a shorter one than that. I wanted a shorter one than that, and I don't think I got one, or at least not by much, but I think it'll be okay because it's at a 45-degree angle here, so. Alright. Okay, I don't think that's too big, I think. Let me go grab the next size smaller. This is why it's nice to just bring the whole rail with you. But pardon the wind. Okay, so it's a 10 millimeter, go figure. Sometimes 10 millimeters don't look like 10 millimeters, and don't ask me why that is. Check the camera here. Alright. Whacking the windshield again. I'd be more careful, but this one's already got some cracks in it, or not cracks, but little chunks in it, so. Okay. Probably, let's see. Yeah, you can reach in there and get them if you've got small fingers. Otherwise, you probably better have a magnet handy or be willing to fish them out. There's one. And the other one's over here. And these are nuts on studs. Doesn't take much to loosen them. Of course, some of these may be rusty because sometimes you get these Jeeps. Sometimes this is a rusty area up here in these windshield areas. So don't be surprised if you run into that. This one's pretty good though, I think. There are different kinds of Jeeps, and you should know which kind you want before you buy one. And what does that mean? It means, like I said before, you want something just for wheeling or rock crawling or weekend fun, or do you want something that, you know, you can drive all year round, you know, that's functional. This is kind of the last year for the simple Jeeps, you know, with the, this has got the old inline 6, and like I said, this one had the 6-cylinder or 6-speed transmission in it, but it was converted to an AX15, so it's got the good package, the inline 6, fuel injected inline 6, and the 5-speed transmission. Okay, so like I said, one there, and then one there, and then on the other side there, and then there's those two nuts that you can see up right above the fuse box there. There's two nuts about 4 inches across. I already showed those, I'm sure. So I'm going to come over here and give this thing a little wiggle and see where we are. Let me back the truck up a little bit here so I can get in here. Like I said, there's those two nuts up in there, so let's see. Okay. Alright, yeah, mommy's getting ready to have something come somewhere. Okay. Yeah, it feels like it kind of lifts up, which, you know, it's on those studs, you know, with those nuts, those top 4 there, and then these two down here is kind of like that too. So I'm going to pause it real quick and kind of get everything organized a little bit better, and then just see how much, if not all the way, this thing's going to want to come off of there. Again, you got to make sure your shifter's back in there. You're not going to have much room with that. I may end up having to take that out or take that off again, depending on the videos you watch, or depending on the way the Jeep is, you know, it can vary a little bit. So yeah, you don't have a lot of room to work with there. Of course, I guess the wisdom is that you can kind of pull it out and up a little bit, and maybe put a towel around this and kind of, you know, tie it off with the roll bar and stuff. So, and then there's a few people that have taken the whole thing out, I think, when they had something else to do. I don't think taking the whole thing out is really a problem if you've got the steering column out, or taking the steering column out. If you're leaving the steering column in, then things get a little bit interesting. So again, I'm going to get everything kind of organized here and get ready for the next step in the process here. Let's see. Let's give it one more good little yank and see how. Oh, yeah. That's going to probably do that. Oh, whoop, oh, okay, yeah. We got to go. All right. I got to go check. Something went falling off over here. What was it? Okay. Well, I think it was just the duck that went falling. So, yeah, this thing we gotta remove. Ducatello's over here somewhere. Hold on. Okay, so ideally you would probably, I'm going to get a towel and wrap it kind of around that shifter, and then I'm going to kind of get in there and see if I can kind of lift up and pull it back. And I'll tell you what too, you got your work cut out for you if you're a great big guy. If you're a great big guy, you're better off to have help, you know, have some, you know, somebody help you get on that. That's probably ideally what you should be doing, is having somebody on that side help you lift it off. But once again, this is the reality of the way it is for, you know, regular guys. So, and here's those studs here that those 4 nuts, extra nuts on the top came off of here, as you can probably see. If you can see them. Yeah. You can probably see these studs. There's one there, and then 2 more over there. That's what this was. Yeah, there's these brackets that go down. I'm just going to take the camera off and shake it up a little anyways. Kind of see what's going on there. These brackets here. This thing was lifted up and kind of hooks over these studs. So these studs are kind of important. So if you got a rust problem here, you might want to try and fix that, knock the stud out, put a bolt, you know, do something to kind of, because that's kind of a crucial part of, you know, your dash there. But anyways, so that's kind of the deal with that whole thing. And then, like I said, there are, you can see there where there's those couple of slots there. If you lift up, there's a couple of studs there with a couple of nuts. Oops, you might be able to see them. Oh yeah, you can see them down in there. Right there. There's one and there's the other one there. So yeah, that's kind of how this thing sits on there. You've got 2 studs coming out with 2 nuts and 2 slots on a plate. And then you've got these 4 studs, and the whole thing goes up and kind of hooks over these studs and then down on those 2, and then there's probably something over there that it kind of hooks on too. So just to kind of give you an idea of what is going on with it. So, alright, stick with me. Okay, we're back, and as you can see, I just took a towel and taped it around. That tape works really well, the painter's tape, because it's, you know, not overly sticky like a duct tape. Get it in the big rolls, and you can tape stuff up and label stuff, and it works really good for a variety of things. So I highly recommend that stuff for any kind of project like this. Pardon the wind. Alright. And then again, your dash is going to be up a little higher in level with this too, so it's going to be hanging on all this. So, alright. Alright, once again, okay, I got a couple of things I want to label a couple of pieces of hardware here, so I'll be back. Okay, I just wanted to label some of these pieces here and move a couple of my tools so I can get in there. Let's see here. Oh, this little courtesy light thing popped out of here. I don't know what that means. See this thing for the courtesy light. Interesting. Okay, well, F.Y.I, make sure you remove that, because it just kind of got smacked a little when that sort of fell out of there. Guess you remove it from the back side. Don't know. It's probably effed up on the other side too. Let me go see. It's not a party unless something gets broken. Yeah, this one would be if I wasn't paying attention to it. So, okay, let me throw this red down here and this piece of tape down here. And having too much crap in your pockets makes it not easy to bend your legs. Okay, so I'm gonna lift up on. Let's see. Okay. Okay, we got something over here that needs to be undone before this will completely come off. Or not really, it's just awkward, I think. Maybe the collar needs to go down a little bit further. Yeah, there's a little screw on the bottom of here that I think would probably be advantageous if you removed it. Let me see if I can. Okay. That's just being difficult for some reason, so I'm going to come over here and see what's going on over here. Oh, the ducks went for a ride. Yeah, that's just kind of falls off of there, so I'm going to go get a towel and rag and put it under the steering column there. That's life sometimes when you're doing it all by yourself and you got one pair of hands. Oh, heater cores are a pain in the butt. People go, oh, it's no big deal. Well, you know what? It's not, but, you know, if you're trying to get everything back right and not cause a lot of problems, and, you know, it can be. Okay, so there's this connector right here that needs to come unconnected or be removed from the firewall here. Let me see here. See if I can. And this is why they tie it up and out of the way and all that crap. They pull it up like this, and then they tie it probably to the roll bar. Okay, so you got your radio antenna that you got to disconnect. Okay. We got to set this thing back down a little bit here. Yeah, if you got to take the steering column out for some reason, way easier probably to just pull that out. You know, I mean, I know that's like not in the books of doing it or whatever necessarily, but you know. Okay, so I need to disconnect this connector here. Okay, you're hissing. That's from this little connector here for the heater controls here. You can disconnect it at the heater end or up here at the firewall, either one. And you can get to that from the glove box too. And the same thing with this other green connector here. I'll just kind of come over here and show you what I'm doing here. Just disconnected this connector from here. And then I got that green one there. And I already disconnected the radio antenna thing, and that's pretty much the only thing that's really, you know, that's really the only thing that's in the way of pulling this box out here next. So the rest of it's just, you know, padding it up over there and securing it in a way where it's not going to scratch anything or damage anything or whatever. And then, like I said, this looks like they pretty much just, you know, kind of tie it up around the roll bar or whatever. So anyways, I'm going to fiddle around with this and figure out what the best course of action is, and then I'll get back and we'll do it. So again, stick with me. Here comes the wind. And just a quick look at what it looks like from this side before I get to figuring out how I'm going to tie this thing up or whatever out of the way. Again, got your stud here, your stud there, and then your other 4 there, and that's what this thing lifts up and sets on basically. You also got an AC duct over here, heat and AC duct that hooks on this little vent tube right here for this vent here. Just plugs on the back of there. And this thing's pretty free. There's some wires and stuff back there, but it's, again, it doesn't need to come all the way forward. I mean, it could come a little bit further forward, but with that shifter there and just the way this whole thing is, that's just kind of, like I said, unless you're taking the shifter out and the column out or whatever, that's just kind of the way it's done. Is, you know, you pull this out as much as you can, kind of tilt the thing up at an angle because of the shifter, and take that handle grab bar there and kind of tie it up out of the way, and and that's the way you roll with it. So anyways, all right, I shall return. I just wanted to show it from that angle to give you an idea what to expect and what's going on here. So okay, so just for reference sake, again, you can get some shots down in here. You can disconnect all of these things before you start pulling it back, and that's this this airbag connector here, which I already did. This vent hose here, which goes to here. This vacuum line. This vacuum line loom here that goes to here. I guess I should say vacuum line harness that goes to here for the H.V.A.C controls there. And then this green one here, which obviously hooked into there even though I just dropped it, and your antenna wire. And of course you may have some speaker wires and some other stuff, you know, depending on what's going on with the vehicle, so you got to pay attention to that. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. So, and the factory bracket on some of these, there's a factory bracket, I guess, on some of these for the radio that's bolted to the firewall that you got to undo that too, because you leave the radio in there, and then the back of the radio has a little thing that's bolted, so you got to check for that too. Not too much going on the other side, except for the obvious. And then again, you want to make sure you take these things out here, because these can get busted off here. This one's a little bit screwed up. I may or may not be able to salvage it. We'll just have to see. So, but no big deal. That kind of stuff happens, and you know, that's just the way it is. This stuff gets old too. You know, especially if it's been sitting in the sun. This one's in pretty good shape as far as all that's concerned. But you know, all this plastic stuff, it's you know, it's going to happen. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I kind of got this thing kind of, excuse me. Also, I took a piece of, it's like that stuff you use for your insulation for your pipes on your house, or even roll bar insulation or whatever it is. Even like a pool noodle it's cut in half or something would work. Kind of put this on top of the steering column just to kind of help protect it even more from this piece of metal there. We're going to lift it up. And I'm just going to live a little dangerously here. Let's see. Sorry, I didn't get that. I don't think I got most of that pool noodle in there. I don't know if I got all that. I'm going to recap it again. Again, over here you got this line here, up there, this airbag connector here that goes into an airbag connector that's on the dash, your antenna wire, this green connector here, and then this vacuum line harness for your heater and air conditioner controls that goes in right here. And that's pretty much what all you got up here. Like I said, you may have some other stuff, other wiring in there. Excuse me. Having said all that, I am going to try and use this tape to pull this up and wrap it around that roll bar and hang it. And if that doesn't work, then I'll get a piece of rope or something. But this tape's pretty strong. If I go around it a few times, even if I can get it to hold on there well enough just to kind of get it on there until I wrap something else around it. So I'm going to try and see how it goes here. So let me see if I can get the camera in a frame in a way that this is going to be advantageous to the viewer here. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to take and wrap a couple pieces around here. I'm going to wrap, I'm just kind of doing some weird tape stuff here just to kind of see how strong this is going to be. Just kind of layering it up a little bit here. Okay, so let's just see, now the biggest thing you got to worry about is this windshield washer stock right here. This can be kind of dicey lifting this thing up here. So I just kind of want to lift it so you can there. Yeah, probably going to need a piece of rope. Unless, well, maybe not. Yeah, stick it to the rope. That's going to work. Oh, well, I was hoping it would give me a free hand long enough just to, okay, this is, again, this is one of those moments where you may choose to reflect on whether or not you have made some poor choices in life. Oh, of course. Oh, all right, this is going to get really nasty here. But this painter's tape is good stuff. Really, it is. You're like, what is he doing in there? Oh, you probably don't want to know. Getting my hair stuck in all that tape. Okay. Oh, geez Louise. Okay. Thinking this will probably work if I do this right. Just kind of hoping to get another couple of wraps on there before it gave up the ghost like that. You want to use a fresh roll of this stuff too so it works like it's supposed to. But again, this stuff's fairly non-destructive, and if you're really worried about the finish in here, you can put some paper towels or whatever over it. Okay, now we need to take and make another round up here. That is really seriously redneck and just kind of fouled up, but at the same time, I'm kind of proud of myself. What do, you know? Well, so what we got really going on in here is it's just, now if you, like I said, if you really wanted to be a little more, you could take a paper bag or something and put it over this seat. These seats aren't new, and this little bit of tape on there not going to hurt it any. Like I said, just painter's tape. It's, that no tack stuff. So as long as you don't leave it on there more than a few days or a few weeks, it's not gonna, But you could put a piece of cloth or a bag or whatever, and you can use this tape, like this if you need to take and just wrap something around it, and then wrap it up, and then put a towel over. I mean, you can get creative with it because it's not overly sticky. So, all right, now let's go back. Let me shift the camera here. And let's go back over here. All right, now let's see, what do we got here? This is a wire that's going to a radio antenna signal booster for the FM radio. So don't got to worry about that. It's got plenty of slack here. Otherwise, except for that, and we can just let's see. Yeah, that's not a big deal. That's got plenty of slack there. So basically what we got to pull out is this box right here. So, whoops. Just when I thought we had all our ducks in a row, and then that happens. So, Basically, from what I understand, there's this one screw, this one bolt right here. Or no, is it there? Where is it? There's a bolt somewhere here and here that's you gotta undo. And then there's, could be different on this one too, you never know. And then there's I believe 5 nuts on the underside. There's studs, 5 nuts on the underside, and this box comes off of here. So you may have to, yeah, you probably have to remove this. There's probably, you probably take this fuse panel, probably move this thing out of here and move some of this stuff aside a little bit. Probably pull these things, plastic things off of here, so just the box is going to come out. So yeah, we're getting down to the heart of it there. So okay, and then again, I'm just going to take this off real quick. And I'm just going to run you around to the other side here and see what we got going over here. And it's a real shat show over here. But you know, we're okay. We're not up against anything too violently here. We've got this thing here. Like I said, that turn signal stock's moving freely, just barely. This whole thing's kind of resting on this padded part underneath here, kind of on top of the shifter there. It's just kind of wedged that way and just kind of tied back. And I would imagine it is done that way all the time and probably not nearly as lovingly. Okay, so anyways, like I said, if you need to take the steering column out for any reason, or you're going to do, I mean, you know, it's not that much more just to pull that whole thing out. And you know, if you were going to do it, that's how you do it. You don't necessarily have to take these speakers off. But then again, you know, depending on the wiring and the aftermarket lights and accessories and everything else that might be added, you know, it's a whole different, you just never know what you're going to run into. So again, while all these years are supposed to be a certain way, you know, take your time and look and pay attention, because they're, you know, very possibly might be, or probably will be a screw and not a bolt or a wire or something someplace that's not supposed to be there. So with that, we'll spin back around to the other side here again, and isn't that just nice and smooth? Just like if a drone were flying, right? Like, yeah, whatever. All right. So there we go. Yep. Gonna regroup and get my you know what together, and I think the next step is undoing those 5 nuts or whatever from under the hood. Got to undo the 5 nuts under the hood, pull those heater core lines off, and again, you're going to get some either water or you know, radiator fluid. You may get a little bit of that inside here, so good idea to pull your carpet out in here, your floor mats or whatever. These are those, you know, hard plastic floor mats, so I'm not worried about it. You can also pull the heater core lines off, stick a garden hose up to the ports on the heater core, and just blast some water through it. That way, anything that does leak out of it will be, you know, pretty much mostly just water, since you know, just flushed it out. So you can do that too. So with that, I shall return.